Well, I have had these spokes set aside for quite some time for this 8-passenger Yellowstone Park stagecoach. The front wheels are going to take a 22-inch spoke, and the rear wheels take a 26-inch spoke. Now, generally when you buy spokes, that's how they come in stock increments. They start at 22, go to 24, 26, 28. Generally, they produce them in 2-inch increments, and you cut them to size for accordingly to whatever size wheels you're going to build. Well, I have enough for both front wheels, and I have enough for one rear wheel and 9 spokes into the second rear wheel. Rear wheels take 14 spokes, so I am short 5 spokes. So I'm faced with making 5 spokes. Well, most of you know who have been following along, I do have this contraption here that is kind of my duplicating machine. It's just a junkyard special made from scraps and pieces that I had around that I put together years ago. It's not a fast production machine, but it can make spokes. I put a pattern in on the right side, closest to you, and then I put my blank on this side, and I have a cutter that will cut them out. You've seen me do this before. I do have a spoke blank for a pattern to fit these Yellowstone coaches. I have some odds and ends of different styles of spokes that I have made over the years, and I have one here that is extra long. This looks like maybe even longer than 28. This is actually a 30-inch blank. But this is the size and shape of the spoke that I need for these Yellowstone coaches. Well, this is not the fanciest contraption, but I have kind of a tailstock here that I can slide on this I-beam. It allows me to put different blanks in of different lengths. So this is my 30-inch stagecoach blank. I initially made this to do wagon axles. You know, most wagons have a wood axle to them. So this will actually slide the full length of this bed here. So that'll be my pattern. This other tailstock, I have pretty long length of all thread. So it's going to allow me to have my 30-inch blank, but I can shorten this up to where I can put a 26-inch spoke in that I need to cut. Or I may do a 28 and just trim off the end. But that's why this tailstock is so much longer as compared to this one. See there, I could put a 28-inch blank in there. So all of these spokes are hickory, and I've got some hickory pieces here that I have salvaged off of different projects. Some of these came off of old buggy shafts, some of them just some hickory projects that I've had in the past. But there's enough for 5 spokes. So I need to size these down to where they are 1 3/4 by 1 1/4. And at least 28 inches long. These are 26, but I may use them extra long just if I'm going to cut them out on my duplicator. So when it comes to making spokes, it's not something I like to do, and it's not something that is cost effective for me. That's why I order 99.9% of my spokes. They can turn them on pattern lathes and do 3 to 6 at a time, maybe more. And we don't have to ship all that waste out here and throw it away in the garbage can in the form of sawdust. They can keep that back there in wherever they do it. And I just have to buy the finished spoke. But this duplicator that I built serves a purpose in this case where I just have 5 spokes to make. Sometimes I get a wheel in and I just have a broken spoke and it's an odd size. I can go ahead and turn it and make that spoke. If I had to special order these, it is a 6-week minimum, and most time it is an 8-week waiting period to get a spoke. For 5 spokes, that becomes a trade-off to where it's not worth it for me. So 2 things that I do differently when I'm making spokes. When I'm using my homemade kind of a junkyard copy lathe, I make my blanks an 1/8 inch oversize, because I may not have my centers exactly right to my pattern, so it allows for a little variation in my finished spoke, and then I can tune it up from there. But if I'm going to do it like I'm going to do next and take a spoke shave and make them by hand, well, then I'm going to take and pattern it down a little closer to the finished size, because I have more control over that shaping as I do it by hand. So by comparison, I'm going to do a spoke by hand. And generally, I don't do it by hand. It takes way too long. But oftentimes, you out there ask, well, how did they do it then? Well, they made them on copy lathes. So for the sake of grins and giggles, I'm going to take a spoke shave and make a spoke. So this is where my tenon is going to be. So I want to come short of this, back in this area here. So the first part of making a spoke, just like I did on the copy lathe, is making the body of the spoke. And if we look at these original ones, you can see that they are not round, they're turned in the shape of an egg. The top of that egg is the top of the spoke as I build them on a wheel stand, and they are the outside toward the dish of the wheel as they are in the wheel itself. So kind of round in the back, but kind of teardrop egg shaped to the front. So this is the top of the spoke, and I want to have a reference line right down the center, and that's where the point of the egg is going to be. Now most spoke shaves will have kind of a concave side and a straight edge. I'm using the curved side to build the body. The flat is more for making the throat. So that's kind of the flavor of making a spoke by hand with a spoke shave. Probably one of the few times that woodworkers use a spoke shave for actually making a spoke. And you can see it is labor intensive and it is very subjective. As I am shaving this down, I'm constantly feeling, do I have that shape right? So it's not as repeatable as a duplicator or a copy lathe for sure. But it does bring up the notion that many of us have that they were limited in their abilities as far as production scale goes. And that is not really true. Remember back to this Piedmont wagon that I restored, and I'm in the process of painting it now. When I did some research into the history of that company, I found out that they were producing 10,000 wagons a year, just that one company. Well, if you have a wagon that has 52 spokes in that vehicle, 10,000 wagons, 52 spokes apiece, that's 520,000 spokes they had to make just for that one company every year. You think they had somebody turning out 520,000 spokes by hand? And there are large companies like Studebaker in Canada, there was McLaughlin, and both of them advertised that they turned out a complete vehicle every 6 minutes. So you kind of do the math on that. A complete vehicle every 6 minutes goes out the back of the shop. Well, if these were all 12 spoke in the front and 14 in the back, and they have 52 spokes, that's 52 spokes somebody had to make in 6 minutes. So if you worked, an hour, there's 520 spokes an hour. And if you worked a 10-hour day, 5,200 spokes a day, and you're going to do that with a spoke shave? I don't think so. So this just demonstrates that in these large factories, these were not individually handmade. It's just way too labor intensive. They were mass produced on a very high volume level. Now, in the small town blacksmith shop, that might be a completely different story. Chances are that they would order spokes in just like I did, but you get to the situation where you're out on the farm or the ranch, or maybe you're one of the pioneers that's headed out west from St. Joe, headed for Oregon or California, and something happens. Absolutely, then you're going to take a spoke shave and you're going to make your spoke and fix your wheel and keep going. But on a production level, not even close. So I still have to put the throat in these. I still have to cut the tenon. But the whole purpose of doing this by hand versus my duplicator doing one spoke at a time just demonstrates that by hand is way too tedious on any kind of a production level. Even my one spoke at a time takes way too long. So for what it's worth, that's why I don't hand make spokes with a spoke shave. Appreciate you coming along. Thanks for watching.